Hi guys, so today's video is going to be my first in my sort of top 10 TV series, and this is going to be my top 10 of Dexter because, as any Dexter fans know, the show finished, the finale was shown last week. I would love to hear your comments on it. If you're aware or are a fan of Dexter, let me know what you thought of the finale. Personally, I was really disappointed. What I've read online, I think most people were really disappointed and felt like a show that had been such high quality really deserved a much better ending than it had. I also was absolutely devastated that they killed Deb off. I felt like that was the one thing that I really hoped they wouldn't do. And they did it, and I was absolutely gutted. Anyway, I'm going to get on with my top 10, and you can let me know in the comments what your top 10 moments were. Okay, first question, favourite season. My favourite season of Dexter, and I think it would probably be a lot of people's favourite season, was season 4. I thought that the quality of the writing and the acting of that season was phenomenal. The plot with the Trinity killings was just, it was horrifying, but it was so strong, and I felt like everyone who kind of was part of that storyline, all of the acting was so good, and you were totally absorbed in it, and you couldn't wait for the next episode to see what was going to happen next. Okay, next question, favourite character. My favourite character is Deb. My favourite character has been Deborah from season 1. I think that Jennifer Carpenter is incredible. She's such a good actress, and it got to a point where I know some people by about season 7 were kind of going off her, but for me I just felt so sorry for her the whole time. I felt like she just had such a tough deal all of the time. The most horrible things happened to her, from falling in love and getting engaged to the ice truck killer in season 1, who turned out to be her brother's brother, to falling in love with Lundy, and then he gets shot and killed. I just felt like by the time it got to season 6 and she found out about Dexter, and then into season 7, ended up killing LaGuerta in order to protect Dexter, and it totally destroyed her faith in herself and her confidence, and I felt like Jennifer Carpenter played it beautifully. So the one thing that I really wanted for the end of Dexter was for Deb to get a happy ending, and she didn't, and I'm actually really angry with the fact that they actually just had Dexter dump her body in the water where he dumped all of his victims who were horrible. I know Deb technically was a victim of Dexter, as was Rita, as was Maria LaGuerta, like all of these people who he didn't kill directly, but they died as a result of what he did. I kind of understand that, but at the same time, the people who he killed in his kind of like ritual killings were all murderers and bad people who'd done terrible things, and I feel like Deb just did not deserve that. She didn't deserve that, so that made me very angry. Next question was, what was my least favourite season? My least favourite season was season 7. Not because I didn't think it was good. I feel like there were good elements to it, but I kind of felt like, in comparison to the rest, particularly the first 6, it just didn't have as much momentum. It felt like it took an awful long time to get into any real sort of storyline, and I feel like the climax, which really was between Deb and LaGuerta, took an awful long time for us to kind of reach that point and figure out that that was going to be the kind of crux of that season. I don't know, I just felt like season 7 was weaker than the rest in terms of the actual plot. I didn't feel as kind of drawn into the plot of that season. Least favourite character, this is a no-brainer for me, and this might seem weird because this isn't actually one of the actual like villains, but my least favourite character was Lila. Even actually just saying her name and thinking about her makes my skin crawl. I hated her. You know, I have to give it to Jamie Murray. She played it really well, and I hadn't really thought of her as a particularly great actress in the past, but she really did get sort of under your skin and get you so frustrated. So yes, Lila was definitely my least favourite character. Most hated villain, I think again this is probably, oh well, I was going to say kind of easy. Trinity, obviously you would kind of say was the most hated villain. Purely because, and this is really annoying me, I can't remember the actor's name, I'm going to put it here, because he won an Emmy for it. He was so good. John Lithgow? He was so good. Character was so creepy and so loathsome and did such horrific things. The first episode of season 4, I remember, I don't think there was an episode that maybe disturbed me quite as much as that one, when you kind of, the very first scene of his kind of like first murder back in Miami at that point. oh, I just remember being utterly horrified by it. So he, I would have said, was my sort of most hated villain. However, Daniel slash Oliver Saxon slash whatever else he wants to call himself from season 8, obviously he is responsible for Dev's death. So obviously he kind of rates quite highly up there, so it would be between the two of them. Next was what was the biggest shock. So in terms of a twist, what shocked me the most? And I have to say, for me, the biggest shock was in season 6 when we discovered that the professor was actually dead and Travis was working alone. I literally was looking at my TV going, no, I did not see that coming at all. And there were a lot of massive twists in Dexter. That was the beauty of it. There were moments that you just never expected. But I do remember that's one that really sticks out in my head, of sitting looking at the TV and seeing Dexter going and opening that box and the professor's lying in there, and you realise that Travis, who you've kind of seen as this sort of vulnerable, messed up kind of soul who's really been tricked into committing these things by someone who's taken advantage of his kind of temperament, you then discover is absolutely psychotic and is responsible for everything, and that genuinely blew my mind. I thought that was amazing. Next, favourite romance. Obviously I'm going to have to include this one, and this one's going to be kind of a tie between Deb and Quinn, because to begin with I was like, you always kind of saw there was a bit of a spark and there was a bit of banter between them, but when they kind of got together to begin with I thought, I don't know really how I feel about this. But by the time they broke up, I was so gutted that they broke up, and all I wanted was for them to get back together. I'm really glad that in season 8, before she passed away, they managed to kind of reconcile. But I also really loved, and they're not necessarily a sort of long-term couple, but I really loved the storyline with Dexter and Lumen. I thought the chemistry between the actors was insane. Julia Stiles was brilliant. She did such a good job of playing that character. And I felt like the kind of chemistry between Michael C. Hall and her was just unbelievable. I really loved that storyline. I found that a really powerful storyline. It made me cry. The episode where they kind of actually got together, I just loved. And then obviously by the end of season 5, when she left, I was prepared to hate season 6 because I was so invested in that sort of romance and I really wanted it to carry on, and I was prepared to not like season 6, and then season 6 was phenomenal. Favourite season finale, again this one has to go to season 6. I couldn't believe it when Deb walked into that church, and you kind of knew that it had to happen at some point. Like at some point she was going to find out about Dexter, that was inevitable, but I kind of just loved that they did that at the moment that she had just, obviously she was in therapy at that point and had just sort of had this weird revelation that she might be in love with Dexter, and she didn't know how to handle that. And I kind of love that that part was paired with her actually discovering what he actually was and what he actually did. Walking in to see him actually killing Travis was just, honestly, I walked away from that season finale feeling genuinely stunned. Saddest moment. Again, I think this is sort of a no-brainer. The saddest moment has to be Rita's death. I actually knew that that was coming, and there's part of me was so angry that I did, because I saw it as a spoiler on Twitter. So I was so annoyed that I knew about that. But I ended up watching the season 4 finale the night before I left for Australia. So I was kind of in a bit of a stressed, nervous anticipation of my travels sort of state of mind anyway. So I'm actually kind of glad that I knew that was coming, because see if I hadn't, I mean I was an absolute mess as it was. I was crying my eyes out. I was sitting in my bed crying my eyes out, and if I hadn't known that was coming, I really don't know how I would have handled it, because it's a TV show. I would have handled it okay eventually, but it just, that really got to me. So that was really sad. Okay, so the last question, or the last point, was what was my favourite episode, and I don't necessarily know that I have one favourite episode. I have other TV shows that I have one singular favourite episode for, but I don't necessarily know if I have one favourite episode for Dexter. There are a few that I've mentioned already that really stand out. The one where you find out that Travis is working alone, that one really stands out. I also really loved, as I say, the episode that Dexter and Lumen got together. I loved that whole relationship, so that was sort of, there were certain episodes in season 5 I really liked. Was it the first episode of season 2 that they discovered the Bay Harbour Butcher bodies. If that was either the season 1 finale or the season 2 first episode. I think it was the season 2 first episode, and it was really good. So one of those ones they would all sort of rank in my top sort of 5. I'm aware that the only season I haven't mentioned at all is season 3, and that was the one with Miguel Prado and all that stuff, and I thought that it was amazing. And again, the standard of the writing, the standard of the acting, everything was so good. But there obviously just weren't any sort of standout moments from it to kind of fit into my top 10. So that's it for my top 10 of Dexter. If you are a Dexter fan, I really hope that you enjoyed that. If you're not a Dexter fan, I really hope you didn't watch that. And yeah, let me know in the comments below if you're a Dexter fan. Let me know what some of your favourite / least favourite / saddest moments from Dexter are, because I love talking about TV. I'm sure you can guess that already. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and again, also let me know what you thought of the actual finale of season 8 finale. So I will speak to you again soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye! This is a face mask, or face and back mask, from Lush, and it is called the Mask of Magnanimity. Now, am I pronouncing that correct? Yes.